DJ Stage One. What up, man? What came first for you? Was it graffiti or DJing?
Like Slug, from Atmosphere. We used to write graffiti together.
It's crazy that you guys were experiencing the same thing we were going through, because when I was a kid, when someone mentioned Minnesota to me, all I thought was just Lily White.
It was Bloods out here. There was Chicago gangs out here, Vice Lords, Disciples, Latin Kings. We faced a lot of opposition with a lot of Chicago gangs early on and Bloods.
Okay.
They just didn't like hip hop guys.
Talk to me about Idea.
Idea went to the Blaze battle that Karis One was hosting and ripped that kid up, ripped everybody up.
What are your thoughts on the whole Bambaataa situation?
I was brought into the Zulu Nation by Afro Bambaataa. When things started to get weird and political, I just pulled back.
It was going down in the 80s. Crack hit the scene. Shit was wild. I mean, were you guys experiencing the same thing? Or talk to me about Minnesota.
Yeah. Shout out to my cousin PDO out there in Long Beach, too.
Oh,
East
nice.
side.
That's where I was born and raised.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, no doubt. All right. Yep. Shout out to the twins, too. But, yeah, no doubt. But, yeah, we had a lot of the same issues. Maybe a killing here and there, but it was mostly a lot of, fists and knives and the gang situation. It was Bloods out here. There was Chicago gangs out here, Vice Lords, Disciples, Latin Kings. And, Black Souls, just whatever, Black Disciples, just any gang from Chicago was out here. And then eventually Crips came out here, Grave Streets, and just different things like that helped to, make things good or bad, as you will, whether they came and flooded the hood with drugs or empowered youngsters with money. But on a hip-hop side, we faced a lot of opposition with a lot of Chicago gangs early on and Bloods.
Okay.
They just didn't like hip-hop guys. And some of them felt that, we had a group called MBBO, Minneapolis B-Boy Organization, and that was just a loose collective of people that DJ'd and, just did all things hip-hop, and we used to hang out. And we would hang out in numbers. And they didn't like that. They wanted us to either get down with them or lay down or whatever. So an extension of a graffiti crew I was in called KGB formed a crew called the King's Posse. And you can tell, nobody says posse anymore, so this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It formed the King's Posse, and that was kind of like the Gustavo branch of the hip-hop community that took the brunt of the violence and stood up to the violence and different things like that, every weekend there was an issue. Somebody got jumped because they wore their hat a certain way, because back then if you wore your hat to the right, you were from the folk side, like the Disciple side. If you wore it to the left, you were a Vice Lord, or from the people side, like Latin King or something like that. So, B-boys, that was the style. You wore it to the back, cock to the side, right, hard, bam, to the whatever side you wore on a B-boy thing.
Yeah.
But because we were in a gang community and gang environment, they didn't want to look at that part. They didn't want to understand that. We were doing this out of love for hip-hop culture, even though back then we didn't say that, because that wasn't really like a established thing. It's hip-hop culture. We were just doing what we was doing. And because we were being different from the norm, which is gangbanging, stealing, fighting, whatever, they wasn't taken to us. And then in the midst of that, our blades got sharp too, where we had to get our respect. Yeah, it was pretty wild. It's not your average story, like, where, we just breaking and we all having fun, and, we tried, we definitely had that mantra of peace, love, and unity, and the doctrines of the Zulu Nation back in those days. Even though I was like, back then, I'm not saying like that, but I was the only official Zulu Nation member. I used to call myself the Zulu Nation nomad, because nobody else was a Zulu in my area. I would go out to the city for the anniversaries and Rocksteady anniversaries and stuff like that. But anyway, what I'm basically saying is we were moving along those lines where we were creating a movement where just, people that were creative and wanted to push hip-hop hung together and grew together and different things like that. But the streets wasn't really receptive to that.
Yeah, and you guys are in the Midwest, which is, like you said, more closer to Chicago. How did the city take? Because I'm always fascinated how fast Crips and Bloods spread. Especially with the movie Colors back in the day, being that's where I grew up. But what do you remember the Midwest taking? How they took a West Coast gang coming into their territory?
I would say it was a 50-50 thing. I would say the gangs didn't take to it at all, because that was just somebody else cutting in to their treachery, into what they was doing, into their bankroll and all that. So it was like, nah. And then it turned into a situation where they came in so lit, so, flashed out, that the people that wasn't down with them or that was iffy wanted to join or did join the Crip gang, because it was all about getting money and stuff like that. So the allure of money and, the fast life came in and drew a lot of people away from the gangs, so the gangs resented that. So, and a lot of hip-hop cats that, used to b-boy and, now what do? They joined gangs. They became drug dealers and riders and things like that. So, when you think about a lot of these cities, not to make this look cool, but a lot of these cities that have notorious blood gangs, BGF gangs, Crip gangs, Latino gangs all over this country aren't as old as the establishments that are in Minneapolis, but people just don't know it. Blood's been around. Somebody from Blood Gang came out here. I wasn't around, but they came out here, and it got started like in a loose knit way, like, you know what I mean? And then, like I said, once crack really blew up, that's when the Crips followed them, and it was just about getting money, and it just changed the face of the community. So, hip hop here, like I said, it was a different animal in the mid to late '80s, because we seen the coming and the impact of the crack cocaine game and what that did to people, to our peers and everything like that. So hip hop was pertained in different ways. And next thing you know, we want to be paid in full, and some of us want to be conscious, and it was just taking many turns, you know what I mean? People were choosing sides, and that's like, once again, when like NWA and Ice-T and King T came out. King T was already banging in like '86, but a lot of that stuff came in and just changed the game too, and kind of reared people away from the traditional East Coast mentality more to something that they might be able to understand.
Yep.
And that's when the gangster thing just took over.
Yeah, gangster rap and crack cocaine pretty much went hand in hand. That's crazy.
Yeah, man, it was about that bag, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy that you guys were experiencing the same thing we were going through, because when I was a kid, when someone mentioned Minnesota to me, all I thought was just Lily White. Just there. Oh man, it's probably so cool and nice there. But then DJ Quick released a song called "Just Like Compton," where he talked about going all over the country, and he's like, "Nah, man, Denver's just like Compton, San Antonio's just like Compton, Minneapolis is just like Compton." What came first for you? Was it graffiti or DJing?
Graffiti.
Oh.
I mean, DJing. The music was first, automatic, but. Right. As far as me practicing the element, graffiti.
Yeah, cool. Because I'm not saying this as a proud 40-year-old man, because now I'll call the cops if anybody tags on my shit. But I was a tagger that just probably did thousands of dollars of damage. 25 years ago. This is way, before I'm way out of they can't arrest me for it now. But that being said, I do have a love for graffiti as well. Talk to me about the whole graffiti scene there and how you got into that.
I was just a toy on my own, just trying to get it moving, just trying to do something. And a friend of mine in school was just like, "Yo, man, I see you doing your thing." The older guy, he's like, "It's doing your thing. You used to come around the corner after school to my guy's house in Brooklyn. Name is Jack One." I'm like, "All right, I go over there." He checks out my piece book, we just talking. He's like, "Yo, I'm with this crew called GS2." And there was like two of the best crews were from my side of town, which was the north side of town. And It was DS2 and WSC Wild Style Crew. And I got down with DS2, but just in time for them to change the name to KGB. And, you know, I just started bombing with them, hanging out, getting my can control on, my fades perfected, you know, different things like that, you know, working on doing as many styles as I could. And just, you know, work my way, just created my own little side crews and then joined the other major crew. I was the only dude out of all those guys at the time that was part of both crews, both major crews at the end of the day. And we used to just bomb and do canvases and whatnot and do murals for the community. You know, it was a fun situation. There's a lot of experiences, you know, kids getting busted, snitching. The usual thing at the end of the day when you think about a lot of graffiti scenes in most states where there's really some real writers that are people that are aspiring to be real writers. There's going to be some snitching. There's going to be some beat downs. There's, you know, they'll pay homage in cans. Somebody's teachable got stole. Like, whatever. It's gonna, you know what I'm saying? I lived that grass life, trust me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I you know, the paint, you know, the messed up room, you know, just all that. Just, you know, aspirations for art school, you know, everything that went into, you know, just wanting to be the best writer. You know what I mean? And another thing about grass in the Twin Cities or the Midwest, even in some aspects, besides Chicago, is that there's no trains.
Okay.
And freights came later. I had the ideas back then of like, yo, let's hit these freights, but they were so dirty that it was like we had to wipe them down first, and there was nobody wanted to commit to doing freights. And then like the 90s was just like the freight situation. It was just going down. And but it was by the new generation in the Twin Cities. They took that over. They started that and ran with that. And then I lived in Atlanta for a couple of years just recently. I just moved back up here in last November. And all they had down there was freights. Every train that came through was bombed. Every last one.
Damn.
It was dope. Like, grass lives in Atlanta. Like, trust me. Like, you're going to see some grass. Trust me.
Damn.
Throw-ups, everything. I went down there, did some throw-ups, and just getting it in, man. It was nice. I love Atlanta on that level as far as the grass scene. It's real smooth and low key, but it's real prevalent like everywhere. But as far as the Twin City scene, it was even the racial makeup at the time. It was mostly black kids, a couple Spanish kids, you know, white dude or two, you know, and then it gradually, when the scene died out in my area, because the thing what I'm trying to tell you is, even in the book that I wrote about this whole era, this timeline, is that eventually the community that I lived in, which was predominantly black, gradually they're throwing all this stuff down. Like, they're not b-boying no more. Now we're going to rhyme now. Or, something like that, or hustle, or something like that.
Everybody
so
has
you
their
just
own
start
studio.
seeing, and that too. But that's later. You start seeing the shedding of people moving on with the trends, and you see how trendy hip hop was to a lot of people at the time. And then later on down the road, towards the early '90s and all from then on, the baton changed to the South Side of Minneapolis, which was had a lot of writers that was Native American, Latino, white, you know, some black kids, Asians. It became more of a multicultural situation. One of my homeboys that from LA, he moved out here and started a whole new movement, a whole new renaissance that wasn't even connected to my era of Twin City hip hop, because my era was too entrenched in the street life. And you know what I'm saying? So by the time this new emergence of hip hop started coming around in the 90s and a whole new wave, a lot of people that from my era were in prison or dead and different things like that. Like Slug, you know, from Atmosphere, we used to write graffiti together.
No shit.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, me and him used to write Jester back in the day. It's in the book, but yeah, he used to write Jester. And I wrote Stage One, and that eventually morphed into DJ Stage One. But yeah, he wrote on the South Side. He was a South Side guy. And he's another reason why the South Side moved like it did and grew, because he was around the whole rip too. And but yeah, we used to bomb graffiti, tag. You know, we wasn't like neck and neck with it because we were on two different sides of town. But yeah, we definitely good friends. You know, I've known him since like '88.
Yeah,
You know, he DJ'd a little, and I was there for the early inception of Rhymesters Entertainment, and yeah, when they were headshots, and yeah, it's a big part of the culture because he was there early. He knows the beginning situations from his standpoint, and yeah, there's a lot of different ways a story could be told, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of elite people that went unsung, and that was kind of the reason why I wanted to write this story. And you can think about any community that you know of that's big enough, that has a movement. They all have a story to tell in some form of fashion in the facet of hip hop, and I just think more people need to either do videos or write books about their experiences in hip hop, and you know, their come up, or what it's done to shape their lives as young adults or adults in general. Or if you're still young, you know what I mean? Like, hip hop changed your life. It'll give you either a negative outlook if you're weak minded, or give you a strong outlook, you know, to educate yourself, move forward, and try to be successful.
yeah, man. Damn, preach, dude. I'm feeling that shit. Real talk, man. Can I keep you for 10 more minutes? Just have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
And then we'll wrap it up. Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. All right, cool. Let's see. Let's see. You know, you mentioned, speaking of unsung, someone who died way too soon, back in 2010, I think it was. But talk to me about Idea.
Oh man, I bigged him up so early, man. He was a great MC. People used to, you know, he looks like Fonzie. You know, people used to say, you know, make little jokes and stuff, but you couldn't deny his lyrical ability. He murdered everybody. Yep. And I remember going to the Fifth Element store one time. Rochester's, I have a store out here called Fifth Element, and I was like, man, you guys, your man just went and lit New York up. And they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, yo, he went out there and beat this, I can't remember the guy's name right now, but he had a record deal and everything. I think he got dropped after Idea beat him.
What?
But he had this song called, I Don't Know Why I Love You. It was a dope song. But he went into the Blaze battle. Idea went to the Blaze battle that Karis One was hosting, and ripped that kid up, like ripped everybody up. And I went into the store and was like, yo, man, Idea just killed everybody, da-da-da, you ain't here? No, we ain't here. I'm like, man, what is wrong with you? That's your man, what's going on? You better do something with this kid. And I eventually got with my man Abilities. They dropped the album and stuff like that. But he was psycho on the mic. I mean, he battled my homeboy I was in the group with from Sacramento, and it was a hard battle. You know, he just worked his way up. I mean, I got a lot of stories with him, but he worked his way up. I remember seeing him in the he got the Rock the Bells DVD, and they were just clowning at the show, and I loved it because usually, you know, when you look at Minneapolis, like it's not on the high totem pole of people's intellect when it comes to hip hop or where it's at. But my guys came out there like stars, didn't let anybody affect their attitude or you know, them off the stage. They kept telling them to get off the stage, but you know, if you see the DVD, you understand what I mean. Mm-hmm. But Idea was just playing around with the turntable, just like not even knowing the crowd's there. Idea just messing around, talking and just being themselves. And I was like, you know what? This is the attitude that people need to have. Usually people would be scared and, you know, jump off the stage. But they had the attitude of superstars. And I think the Idea really did know that he was a star, but he just really didn't care. He was that free of a spirit where it didn't change him as a person. You know what I mean? And I remember when I got the news that he had passed away. I was actually doing an interview that day, and somebody hit me on my phone and was like, "I did pass." I'm like, "Whatever." And then I got another one. Like, I did. And I got the third one, and I was just like, "Wow, I think he did."
But what are your thoughts on the whole Bambaataa situation?
It's weird because I was brought into the Zulu Nation by Afrika Bambaataa early on. You know, we used to correspond through snail mail. He used to send me lessons. He used to send me chapter leader information. He used to do a lot of cool things and be inspiring, you know, just say inspiring stuff, you know, and I got down with him and got down with Lucky Strike, and, you know, once again, that's how I started going out to the city and going out to Rocksteady anniversaries and Zulu anniversaries and different things like that, meeting a lot of cool people. My journey in the Zulu Nation through all of its changes and things like that was a beautiful thing, but I felt like I was part of something, you know, that I've always wanted to be a part of, as far as a hip-hop collective, a serious worldwide collective, where you tell somebody, hey, you know, I'm a Zulu, or as we say, peace Aki, to each other. It's a universal greeting that we have, and it's like a brotherhood. Like when my first time really going to an anniversary out in the city, I was embraced by people that didn't even know me, and we developed relationships off of the fact that we were all part of the same collective and part of a nation. And I really took it to heart, and you know, really riding for it. And when all the little shakeups that came about a couple years ago just made me pull back from the situation on a political level. I can't speak for what I don't know. And so I basically just pulled back. I'm always going to be a Zulu, because early on, when I got down with the Zulu Nation, I was the only member in my area, my region. So I started like kind of coining the phrase on the low, like Zulu nomad. It didn't mean nothing to nobody here because nobody understood it or wanted to be down with it. And but me going to the city and getting my dose of what it's really like and all that, it was enough to, you know, charge my battery and things like that over the years. And I grew to love it, be a part of it, stand firm with it. But, you know, like I said, when things started to get weird and political, I just pulled back and didn't choose sides. I didn't announce my retirement from it. I didn't join another new form of it with new management, I didn't do any of that. I just fell back. I'm of an age now where, you know, I don't need to reestablish myself or something or whatever. I settled into that. I got comfortable with it. I stayed with it. And I'm just in a position now, and the way hip-hop is now, not saying that we all have to do our own thing, but I feel like the same moves that I made under that banner or whatever, I can do, you know, as myself, as DJ Sage One, as the Sure Shot Brother, or whatever the case is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I consider myself a Zulu still to this day, but I can't afford to put myself in politics that have nothing to do with me when it comes to chapters, when it comes to individuals, when it comes to cities and states where I don't reside. I can't get in that type of business. So I just respectfully just fell back. And, you know, even in Atlanta, I was going to join the, this is when it all happened. I was living in Atlanta, and I was trying to establish myself within the Zulu Nation chapter in Atlanta, Georgia. And everything that happened, and then everything just stopped.
Yeah.
And then I just started hearing about chapters dissolving and people quitting and putting up videos on why and big long letters on Facebook, and it was just crazy. And then at the same time, some of the people that you'd like to hear remarks of, you know, their take on it, as far as the older heads, the icons, it just didn't happen. So it was just a lot of weird things going on, and like I said, I decided to just fall back. Because, you know, I'm 47 years old, and like I said, we can reinvent ourselves. We can do new stuff and try new things without having to attach ourselves to something to make us who we are. When I was young, being like the California culture, I'm stage one from Wham, Wooty Wham.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tag. That's a okay, all right. I'm stage one from the Zulu Nation.
Yeah,
that was me. You know what I mean? But now I can just be like, dude, I'm DJ stage one, the Surfside Brother. What?
Yeah.
So it was like a growing up process at the end of the day. Like when they tell you never meet your heroes, and I'm not saying that something happened or something didn't happen. Like I said, I don't want nothing to do with it. No take.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's that close to home and people are moving funny, it's just best to get out of the way before you get bit.
For us to recognize that our nations have worked together for security and peace and human dignity around the world. In Paris, the most ambitious agreement in history to fight climate change, a new sustainable development set of goals to end extreme poverty,
The American company sparking a fierce debate across this country tonight. A business in Wisconsin implanting microchips in its employees, in the skin of their hands. So what are they tracking, and would you say yes if your boss asked you to do the same? Here's NBC's chief business correspondent, Ben Harris.
Just give me a little bit of peace, steady job and some food to eat. I had to rush out of my bed cause I was late for work. My motherfucking rent is due and my boss is a jerk. Pencil pushing at the job, an intermediate clerk. My mama told me to go to school, I'm going bananas berserk. I work every day, don't know where the money goes. My girl is big and pregnant, want me to paint her toes. Only a high school diploma, I'm smelling the aroma. The greenery is burning in my room. But life is a mamacita, she glad to meet ya, she back coming soon. Better get the broom, my nigga, you clean up your house. You got a little more time to back out, cause she ain't your spouse. But do I love her? I need her. Maybe respect how I treat her. But when I see my baby, I'ma wanna go and feed her. Just give me a little bit of peace, steady job and some food to eat. Just give me a little bit of peace, steady job and some food to eat. Just give me a little bit of peace, steady job and some food to eat. Just give me a little bit of peace.
So talk to me about your book, where we can find it, and what can we expect from it.
Well, my book will be available at Fifth Element Records, which is a Rhymesayers store. Anybody's familiar with Rhymesayers Entertainment, it'll be available through their website. You can also contact me at djstage1@gmail.com. And as far as the book, I kind of been speaking on it a little bit through these stories that I told, but I would encourage anybody, and don't let anybody tell you that, kids in the hood don't read. Because I was told that by a couple of my friends that, cats, in the hood, they don't read books. Like, what are you talking about, I have an extensive library of just mostly hip-hop books. Or, picture books, coffee table books, or whatever, any of that stuff. And I was like, man, there's a market for this, for hip-hop literature. And like I said, wherever you're from and there's a story to tell, go with it. Like, even when, wifey likes Eminem or whatever, and I'm like, I'm with Eminem and all that. But I'd stand by when people say, like, when some people say he's a visitor to hip-hop and all that crap, I don't believe that. He grew up with it. He knows all the old tracks, all the old songs. And then he talks about his, I think his uncle or somebody that was into hip-hop. That's another guy that grew up in this culture. There's no visitor. If you grew up in this culture and you stand by this firmly, this is all you know is hip-hop and the fashion and whatever elements you choose, you're part of this culture. I don't care what you look like or none of that. I know that's another whole argument show altogether. But I just been hearing icons saying a lot of stuff to where if you ask them about my book wouldn't be authentic because I'm not talking about the Bronx or whatever borough or city, and I'm not talking from a 70s perspective when this culture was brought into fruition.
Right.
And it's like, no, we all have stories, and like I said, we're going to the 50th year. So you guys are the quadruple OGs, but there's a lot of young G's under you that are held in just as high regard as you because you planted the seed. We were able to plant seeds in our cities, our areas, our hoods, and get things started to where we got other generations following behind us. It's just unfortunate in my generation, it was a cutoff because, like I said, everybody started going to jail, dying, smoking, whatever the case is, to where it had to rebirth itself in another form and on the whole other side of town. But no, definitely, I would say this to everybody out there. You know, if you want to do videos, work with videos, create documentaries about your experiences, not even just hip hop, but you know, take a look at your coming of age, and because that's what my book is about, coming of age in hip hop music. So I kind of rode the wave along with the culture, kind of like Forrest Gump, like, you know what I mean? Like you see him through the different eras, riding the wave. And, you know, this is just a little glimpse in that, but, you know, never be afraid to look back at what made you you. You know, be proud of what you've done. If you wrote graffiti at one time, be proud of that. You influenced somebody. There's somebody right now. You might have stopped. There's somebody that was influenced by you that's an artist right now, or an MC right now. You know what I mean? You never know how you set your mark in this. If you got a talent, use it. Never be afraid to record your history. Never be ashamed of where you come from. Pay homage to those that came before you and those that aren't here anymore that helped pave the way for you to express yourself. Never forget them. And that's what this book is about. You know, and to me, it was an exorcism to get all these emotions and feelings out of me and put it in a book so I can find new things to put into my mind in memorial and things like that. So I wanted to share it with whoever wanted to read it. And it's a cold story, but we all have cold stories, and some things I might say in the book, I might have people that might not agree with it, some family members or whatever that might not agree with it, but it's my truth. And never be afraid, especially in hip hop. We're always trying to front and I'm okay, how you doing? I'm good. You know, never be afraid to say there's times where you're not good. But to those tough times, you know, make stronger people at the end of the day, and you can say, yo, I came up out of that. Now here I am. You know, I'm standing firm. I'm just that much stronger. You know what I'm saying? This culture breeds strength, because we have the illest culture where you can fall off fast, you can be labeled weak fast, and it's over. So in order to be resilient in this culture, you just got to be real with it and recognize real. You know, we got like I said, the illest culture. We turn on our own so fast, and we forget so fast. You know, our story goes unsung so fast. So we just have to, you know, it can't just be people here and there. We got to create a situation where people start to write, people start to document, people start to ask old heads, what was it like back then, and keep it going. Keep these stories either orally or literally going for, you know, the future to read and understand, because times are changing. You know, like I don't know how old you are, but you know, I go back to the phone cord. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm in your age range, my man. I'll say that.
There we go. You know, remember when certain times of the evening, you know, like after midnight, the TV just goes off.
Oh yeah, 12 o'clock. End with the Star Spangled
Banner. There you go. You know, Tinker Tape News at the bottom. You know, we come from that, so we come from a whole different thing. We're like the remnants of the 60s. The 70s was basically like trying to shake off the 1960s, and then the 80s just ripped a hole in it. And then the 90s was, you know what I mean? The 90s is what's left of the 80s crack boom, and you know, you got all this, you know, crack ain't nothing no more. Method took over. I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah, things are crazy now. So, you know, in order, you know, just to be able to morph through all this and not reinvent, but stay afloat culturally as a hip hop artist or a graffiti writer, it's a beautiful thing and a test of time.